Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Brittany Jennings with the Seniors Blue Book, and good morning, Michelle Robles from Robles Law Firm. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So excited! It's such a privilege to spend time with you, and it's even fun when you're at the beach. And I think I'm in your office with your picture here.
This is my virtual beach.
So, how are you doing through everything?
We've been good. We're still busy. We're still trying to help clients as best as possible. Right now, everything has changed. So what we've been doing is we adjusted our process. So now we do 90% of the work virtually with our clients. And then we can either do a parking lot sign or a very protected, covered up conference room appointment to sign your documents for about a 10-minute process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting, and I like to ask that question, like, how are things different? Because everybody has pivoted to this new normal, and I think it tells a lot about us as humans and just as how we can adapt to something that is happening and turn it into something positive.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have to be very careful nowadays, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be a more constant in our lives than normal. We always have to be careful with germs and passing things off to our seniors, especially during flu season. It's just we're adding another aspect to it now.
Exactly. And mask fashion has become a thing.
Yes, it has. I haven't gotten a cute one, but I need to.
I saw this meme this morning. It just popped in my head. It was a lady going into her closet, and she had two closets, and one closet was her dresses, and there was different colors, and the other side was a smaller closet with her masks. Oh, and she had picked out the same color mask and dress. And you gotta keep your humor through everything. So
I need one with like lipstick or something.
Exactly. Tell us about yourself and your background, your story, and how Robles Law Firm came to be.
Sure. So I became a lawyer later in life. I actually I started off in real estate, and I was also working as a paralegal. And then I had the scare of my life at the age of 34. I ended up in the hospital, and it was discovered I had stage 3 ovarian cancer. And then I came to realize my husband has no idea how to pay the bills, where the bills are, how to write a check even. So it scared me enough to figure out, okay, this can't happen again. So I got myself organized. And I had always wanted to be a lawyer as a little kid. So I told myself, I'm like, stage 3 is not going to get me. So I went ahead and fulfilled my dreams, and I ended up going to law school at the age of 36. So I was working as paralegals for different companies during my internships. I knew I loved estate planning because I had worked as a paralegal before in estate planning. And when it came time to graduate, we came back to Sarasota. I went to Stetson Law for a master's degree in elder law because that's where my passion is. So we opened up the company March of last year. So this is our first official full year. We got to celebrate in quarantine.
I was gonna say it's been an interesting year as your first year of business, right?
Yes, very interesting, very nerve-wracking, especially switching my entire office to work from home so that we could protect our clients and our employees. So it's been interesting. I love the fact that I can help people. If I have to do something pro bono, I don't have to answer anybody else. I can actually just go ahead and do it. So we're planning a little bit later on in the year a Wills for Heroes day to where we can give back to the community, either for veterans or first responders or nurses and doctors that have gone through this whole COVID mess and kind of give back. So we've got that event coming up that's still in the works.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
just want to jump in. I can imagine, like, I had a vision of you as a kid, like, debating with your parents, and like, I feel
Yeah.
like attorneys at heart, like, I need to start asking attorneys this question, like, when you were a kid, is this what you imagined? Like, because I feel like that's just something as a kid, just like you dream about being like a firefighter or a nurse or, whatever it might be. So I could just see you as a kid being like, being that kid who wants to be an
I was
attorney at like
very
age 6.
argumentative and extremely independent for sure. God bless my parents for having to put up with me as a child. I just had my goals and I didn't care how old I was. I wanted to do it.
And you cover, like, with your firm, I mean, you have so many services. Can you kind of do a quick overview of what you can assist with?
Yes. So what we do is we can do estate planning, which consists of wills, trusts, power of attorneys, healthcare surrogates, living wills. We also offer services for Medicaid and VA planning, and also Medicaid applications or VA applications if that's the assistance that you need. We can set up an LLC or some type of business for you. And we are about to start adding in bankruptcies because the whole market has changed. So I do want to, I always try to aim at things where people really need the help. And I think bankruptcy is going to be the next route.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I mean, you're right. You, just like we use the word pivot, you pivot to what's happening and what's relevant, and then that's awesome that you're able to cover so many things. And I know today I'm excited because you're going to be talking about a couple of things. So the question is, to will or not to will, and what happens when you don't have a will. And then the second thing you're going to talk about is where there is a trust, there may not be probate. So how a trust can be used to avoid probate. And I'm going to kind of turn it over to you and let you talk about both things. Again, super excited to learn from you, and I'll hand you the ropes officially.
All right, sounds wonderful. All right, so what is the difference of having a will and not having a will? Having a will lets you have control over what's going to happen with your estate after you've passed away. So what happens when you don't have a will is Florida statutes kick in. So Florida statutes is going to determine who's going to get your estate. So if you have a spouse, it usually goes to the spouse. If you don't have a spouse, it goes down to your kids. But here's where it starts getting a little trickier. So if you don't have kids, you don't have a spouse, then everything goes to your parents. If they're not alive, it goes to your brothers and sisters, which may or may not be a good thing. If you don't have any siblings, then it goes to your grandparents and then your aunts and uncles and on down the line, so that someone ends up inheriting. This may be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your family dynamics. If you don't get along with certain family members, you could potentially be giving them an inheritance. So when we talk about doing a last will and testament, it's basically a letter to a judge on what you want to happen with your property, who's supposed to get everything. Everything goes into your hands so that you can make those type of decisions. And the will is going to cover certain things, such as, do you want organ donation? Do you want to be buried or cremated? Who do you want to get your personal property? Who do you want to get the financial accounts that didn't have beneficiaries listed? If you own real estate, who do you want to go to get your real estate? And even if you have small children under the age of 18, we can actually talk about guardianships. Who do you want to be the guardian of your children versus putting it into the court's hands? So you get to have complete control over what's going to happen after you've passed away. The other thing to consider is with a will or without a will, you will go through probate. So probate is the legal process of Transferring property that has title to it, such as an automobile or real estate, into the name of someone else who's going to be your beneficiary. So it's a legal process. It's very costly. There's court fees involved, and it's a process that can take from a couple of months to even a year or more. So when we're talking about a trust is sort of like a little basket. So your basket is you're going to end up putting your home into it and anything else that might have a title to it. And that is going to help avoid probate, because with a trust, once you pass away, if everything was done correctly, that basket gets passed over to your beneficiaries. It's an easy process. We're taking things out of the court's hands, and your trustee would be directing where the property is supposed to go and when. Another thing to think about for the trust is you can really customize a trust to reflect what your wishes are. How many of you guys are pet lovers? So, you know, I for sure have, all my children have 4 legs and tails. So a pet trust is a great addition to a trust, so that you can make sure that your pet is taken care of. You can select who the pet guardian is going to be, and you can even leave them a small fund for their care. I've got horses, so it's a little bit more expensive when it comes to caring for a horse. So I don't want my friend or my family member who's going to take care of the horses to have to come out of pocket for their care. So I added the pet trust to my trust. Another thing you can do is you can set up a trust within your estate plan to, if you have children who may not be financially responsible, or in the worst case scenario, a child that's either has, you know, jail issues or drug issues, you can set up a mini trust in that trust to where you can spread out their inheritance over the years, so that they're not coming into a huge lump sum and then either spending it, or worst case scenario, buying drugs with it. So there's a lot of customization that can be done with a trust. And especially if you have minor children under the age of 18, you don't want them receiving an inheritance that is going to require a guardianship from having to be done through the court, just to be able to manage that property for them. So there's a lot of aspects that you can really customize in your estate plan. Another thing to consider too is for your financial accounts, so that you don't, you can minimize what kind of assets actually go into probate. You're allowed to put beneficiaries on your bank accounts, on your life insurance, on your retirement accounts, IRAs. By having those beneficiaries on those accounts, those will skip outside of probate and go directly to the person you wanted to go to. So that's something to think about. That's something that we discuss in our consultations. If you don't have, if you have minor children, you might want to have your beneficiary as your trust, so that those funds can be managed for them until they turn the age of 18. And then you can always switch it back to having it go back to them directly. So that's all covered in our free consultations. We do a 30-minute free consultation. And because of COVID, we're doing those by phone and by video, just like how we are talking right now. So then that way, everything is done almost like on a face-to-face basis, except for we're not physically present with each other. And Brittany, I don't know if you have any other questions. I think you're on mute.
And here I am.
Welcome back.
So I'm sure sometimes people would like to hit the mute button on me, but I'm back. No, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I think that the topic that you're speaking on is so important, and we do a lot of through our university educations when we're normally allowed to go out in person, as you know, and go to whether it's at a local library or Parkinson Place or wherever it might be. We do a lot of educating on these documents and the importance of having pre-planned plans. Yeah, right. So being able to have that plan in place. So I think it's amazing that you talked about that this morning. And I would just highly suggest giving Michelle a call. Everybody's situation is so different, right, Michelle? When they come to you, it's like, you know, you have the same starting place. And Wendy the other day said this on one of my other calls. You have the same starting and ending where, you know, but the middle piece is going to be different for each person.
Absolutely. And every estate plan needs to be customized. It's not cookie cutter. It doesn't always apply equally to everybody. Everybody has a different situation. So that's what the consultation's for, is to really get to know each other and then be able to customize that estate plan particularly to you.
Absolutely. Well, Michelle, do you have any last words of wisdom before we come off the live?
Yeah, I would say make sure you have beneficiaries on all of your financial accounts. And also, as soon as you turn 18, look into getting your documents done, especially for parents of newly fresh graduated high school students. They're 18, they have more rights, which don't include yours. So if you do a power of attorney and the healthcare directives, you can still assist with and have a decision-making capability for your children.
It's such a good point to even talk about just for a quick minute, because I'm in my 30s and I don't, you know, we work in the senior living industry and you help people of all ages, but my everyday is pre-plan, you know, and that's what we preach at Seniors Blue Book. Like, you know, don't wait until you're in the middle of a hurricane, you know, to say, oh, I didn't do this.
Exactly.
But it's such a good point. Like for even myself, like 18 feels like it was a long time ago. But, you know, you feel like you're, you know, at that point you're starting life, but anything, any moment can change. And it can be life altering, and you need to make sure you have your wishes and everything set up. So it's a great point. 18 years old, start young, and up until 100. You know, it's never too late to get in and pre-plan, right?
I did an estate plan the other day for a 103-year-old.
Wow.
She was sharp as a tack. She was still driving. I mean, this is my Wonder Woman. So it doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you're over 18.
I will never forget, one of my first jobs, I worked at an assisted living community in St. Petersburg. And there was a gentleman who came in and he toured, and he was 100 years old. And he was still driving. He didn't even use a walker or cane. His posture was perfect. And he made sure that, you know, he told me to always put my shoulders back. Which I'm not doing right now in these videos. Right?
Neither am I.
Crouched over. We're all going to end up like needing a good session with acupuncture or chiropractor for this. But like he said to me when I walked out, he loved the community, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm just not ready. You know, I'm not ready." And I said, "You're 100 years old." And he said, "But I know that he said he feels like he's in his 60s, you know." And but it was another discussion that he had children that lived in New York, and when we were talking, just small talk back and forth, I said, "So does somebody have power of attorney?" You know, you try to find out who's helping him make that decision. And he said, "No, I haven't done any of that yet." And I thought, at 100 years old, you know, so the message is, again, no matter if you're 18 or you're 100, call Michelle. Start your pre-planning with everything. I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing all this information. I do want to share real quick. I have your website pulled up because I do want people to be able to go on and check that out. So I'm going to share my screen. And if there's anything on your website you would like me to kind of navigate to, just let me know. Once I pull this up here.
Yeah. Under our areas of law, if you go to estate planning, I have a little discussion under all the different types of documents and what they're good for. So if you could scroll down just a tad more. Yeah, so actually, let's see.
Did I miss it?
No, scroll down just a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, so right here.
Okay.
So here it gives you a good explanation as far as what each type of document means. Some people are confused between what's revocable trust or irrevocable trust. So I added a little bit of information here to give you an idea of what each kind of estate planning document means.
This is great. It's an easy breakdown of each one.
Exactly. Just, yeah, I like to try to keep things in simple terms and explain things. That's the teacher side of me. So I'm trying to continuously add things here to help explain things before you even walk into an appointment. If you just want to start doing some general research, you can start doing it at my site.
Awesome. And I'm just going to go really quick to contact us. So you did just switch into a new office. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where your office is located, and then also share, I know you go out of your office when able, once we're past this time, but explain a little bit about how you work that way.
Sure. So we are located near the Sarasota Square Mall, near the Clark Road, Beneva area. We're right across the street from the YMCA on Potter Park. We just moved just 2 buildings down, so we're still on the same street. It's just we're in the pretty blue building instead of the pretty terracotta colored building. And so it's a very centralized location. So whether you live in North Sarasota County or Bradenton, or if you're down in Venice, all the way down to Englewood, we're right smack in the middle. So you don't have to drive all the way to downtown Sarasota to reach an attorney. So what we are doing is we typically do after hours weekend appointments if necessary, especially if you're back to work or you can't get off from an 8 to 5. So we can definitely customize when your appointment can be. Normally we do off-site location visits for people who are either housebound or in a nursing facility or even a hospital. We are completely mobile. We have a portable printer, portable scanner. We go in there. I bring my own witnesses and a notary, and we're able to take care of things at the last minute if it's required. Unfortunately, right now we are kind of locked out of nursing facilities and hospitals, but once those reopen, we will definitely be adding those services on there.
Perfect. All right, and the number to reach you at 941-315-2114. I'll make sure I add all this information to the post and how to contact you and the website.
Okay, great.
And again, I just want to say thank you for joining us today and sharing all of your useful knowledge and information. People now more than ever, I think, are looking into resources and pre-planning and doing all these things. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too, Michelle. And thanks everybody for watching, and we hope you have a really wonderful, exciting Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.